We're being joined by Anne-Elisabeth Moutet. She's joining us live from Paris. She's a columnist at the London Telegraph and also specialises in international affairs. Now, Ms. Moutet, thank you very much indeed for taking time out and speaking to us here on Beyond. The obvious question that I want to begin with is this. European leaders such as Emmanuel Macron and Ursula von der Leyen are making a beeline to Beijing this week. But the question is this. Does China even have the kind of leverage that the European leaders think that it has to try pull strings to make the guns fall silent in the battlefields in Ukraine?
I would say yes. China has it's probably the country, the power that has the most leverage on Russia, mostly because China is providing goods to Russia, buying stuff from Russia, providing financial support, currency support, and it's a strong and rich neighbor, and it's a neighbor that can help. The problem is that to begin with, the Chinese were absolutely certain that Putin would win the war in Ukraine as late as last summer. They still said, well, there's no doubt that Russia will win in Ukraine. I think the Chinese, and I'm not the only one to think that the Chinese have now the second thoughts about this. They are seeing how difficult it is for Russia to even advance. And in general, that means that they have now the upper hand. There was a very visible visit of Xi to see Vladimir Putin, but it's very obvious that the one who was in charge was not Putin in his own country, but Xi. China is probably a good place to go and try and push.
All right, very interesting there. Now, there's also this criticism that is being levelled that the European leaders are in fact putting their financial and economic interests above solidarity with Ukraine, because at this moment as we speak, Moscow and Beijing are in a no-limits partnership. China has not condemned Russian invasion into Ukraine. With that being the case, do you think China is honest enough, even though it has floated a 12-point peace proposal for peace in the Ukrainian war, do you think China is honest enough to try and bring about peace in Europe?
I'm not going to take position on whether China is honest or not, but certainly China has a sort of a shut window right now with this plan, and it may be that the plan is applicable or not applicable, but it's a first step. And right now it's a step that probably would not bring any kind of peace, but at least it's something that you can build on, you can amend, you can change. China does not want to lose the Russian market, and it sees that the Russian market is going to be more accessible. But as a partner, it's a partner only in as much as if it wants to really leverage its power on Russia, it can cut off some of the things that Russia now needs. And you've just heard in the report before, there was the fact that China, the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, was looking at the fact that so far China had not obviously sent the lethal weapons to Russia. That would be a great change if China started to do it. They certainly have the weapons and the manufacturing capacity, but they haven't done it because they realized that might not work.
Absolutely, indeed. My final question to you, Ms. Moutet, is this. Now, China is trying to, at least position itself as a possible peacemaker in the Ukraine war. Now, we've heard from France that President Emmanuel Macron spoke with his American counterpart Joe Biden over the phone before he visited China. And now what is being said, at least on the face of it, is that both France and the United States are on the same page in engaging with China. But looking at what China has been able to achieve as a peacemaker in the Middle East, it was able to bring about some kind of an understanding between Iran and Saudi Arabia, two perennial rivals in the Middle East. Do you think the United States will back this French initiative to try and get the Chinese involved for a possible ceasefire in Ukraine?
I would say that, no, the French and the United States are not quite on the same line, but to a large extent, the United States is playing bad cop and the French are playing good cop. The French have got a specific interests in China. They are a country that has done less business with China than either the United States or Britain, for instance. But since these countries are now withdrawing from China because there's a very anti-China policy in terms of trade out of Washington that's also being followed in London, the result is that there are opportunities for French industry. So Emmanuel Macron is sort of walking a tightrope in that he's at the same time promoting possibly new business deals deals with a partner that's going to be less demanding on political concessions, and sort of making friends in Beijing and hoping that it might be one possible framework for peace between Russia and Ukraine, where there is absolutely none anywhere else.
All right, very interesting there. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Muthe, for joining us and getting us all those insights there.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.